Donald Trump just lit a fire under the gun rights debate with a political bombshell that's got the anti-gun crowd in a full-blown panic. He's now calling for nationwide concealed carry reciprocity. That's right, coast-to-coast recognition of concealed carry permits, no matter where you got yours. For millions of responsible gun owners across this country, that ain't just another campaign promise. It's a direct shot at the kind of state-level meddling that punishes lawful folks for simply exercising their constitutional rights. In this breakdown, we're going to lay out exactly what Trump's proposal says, what it could mean for those of us who value the Second Amendment, and why this might be the boldest move for gun rights we've seen in a generation. We'll dig into his remarks, cut through the noise, and push back on the usual gripes. Most of all, we'll explain why this could mark a real shift in the fight to defend our right to carry. Now look, this is supposed to be the land of the free. But when it comes to carrying concealed, gun owners are trapped in a tangle of state-by-state rules so thick it makes your head spin. Right now, someone who's 100% legal and licensed in their home state can cross into another and suddenly find themselves facing felony charges. Think on that for a second. Imagine if your driver's license just stopped working the moment you crossed a state line. Sounds crazy, don't it? But that's exactly the trap every day law-abiding folks walk into. Each state's got its own patchwork of carry laws, and most of them don't give a hoot about reciprocity. That creates a legal minefield that's mighty hard to navigate unless you've read every fine print statute. It's not just frustrating, it's downright dangerous for good folks trying to do the right thing. Take the story of Shanae Allen from Pennsylvania. She was a single mom, working hard, with a valid concealed carry permit from her home state. But in 2013, she got pulled over in New Jersey and ended up arrested for carrying her legally owned handgun. She didn't realize her permit wasn't honored across that border. For that honest mistake, she was facing up to 10 years behind bars. She was eventually pardoned, but not before her whole life got turned inside out. Then there's the case of Marine Sergeant Andrew Tolmoresi. Back in 2014, he crossed from Arizona into Mexico by accident with his legally owned firearms in the back of his truck. This man served our country with honor, and he ended up sitting in a Mexican prison for 7 months before he was finally released. These stories ain't one-offs, they're part of a bigger problem where law-abiding citizens are treated like criminals thanks to this mess of inconsistent laws. The Second Amendment don't mince words. It says, our right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. But when that right disappears the moment you cross a state line, you gotta ask, what's left of it? In places like California and New York, they've stacked so many rules and roadblocks on carry rights that the Second Amendment gets treated more like a polite suggestion than a constitutional guarantee. Until that changes, decent Americans are going to keep getting caught in the middle, paying the price for a system that just don't make sense. Trump's push for national reciprocity could finally be the game changer we've been waiting on if it turns into reality. So let's talk about this idea of concealed carry reciprocity. The thought is simple. If you've got a license to carry a concealed handgun in your home state, that license ought to be good in all 50 states, same way your driver's license is. This ain't some fresh-off-the-press idea either. Folks in Congress have been trying to push this through for years under a bill known as the Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act. Back in 2017, the House actually passed H.R. 38, a bill that would have amended Title 18 of the United States Code, making it law that every state had to honor concealed carry permits issued by every other state. It cleared the House, but when it hit the Senate, it stalled out and never crossed the finish line. Even so, support for nationwide reciprocity has only picked up steam since then. Folks backing the idea say it'd clear out a lot of the red tape and legal headaches, giving some peace of mind to law-abiding Americans who carry, while also shoring up the constitutional right to bear arms from coast to coast. Right now, that scattershot mess of state laws ain't just confusing, it's plain unfair. good people are getting caught in the weeds, tangled up in laws most of them didn't even know they were breaking, all for exercising a basic right. Concealed carry reciprocity offers a clear way forward, one that still gives states room to manage things locally, but also respects the freedoms guaranteed by the Constitution. President-elect Donald Trump's made it mighty clear he's all in on getting national reciprocity done. His plan would bring all 50 states into line, so if you've got a valid carry license back home, you'd be legal to carry anywhere in the country. In a recent speech, Trump laid it out plain. I will protect the right of self-defense everywhere it is under siege, and I will sign concealed carry reciprocity. Well, that line says it all. Your Second Amendment shouldn't vanish the moment you cross a state line. He's looking to erase the legal fog that's burned too many responsible gun owners who were just trying to do right. Then he doubled down, said, just like your driver's license or your marriage license, your Second Amendment rights ought to travel with you. He's drawing a hard line between basic legal recognitions and what a whole lot of us see as a God-given, unshakable right, the right to protect ourselves and our families, no matter where the road takes us. Trump's push for national concealed carry reciprocity ain't just a policy pitch. It's a stand against the rising tide of gun control, and for many of us, it's a fight for the freedoms this country was built on. The patchwork system we've got right now has already landed too many good folks in hot water just for stepping across the wrong line with a concealed handgun. That ain't just a legal mess. It's a direct hit to personal liberty. What Trump's laying out would create a straight-across-the-board system that honors the Constitution while serving the needs of responsible gun owners. Supporters say this kind of change wouldn't just protect the right to carry. It'd also make crime a riskier game, 'cause more honest Americans would be armed and ready when it matters most. This push for nationwide concealed carry reciprocity ain't just about making life easier. It's about knocking down the legal walls that have been chipping away at our rights for way too long. The goal here is simple. Restore the Second Amendment to the full strength it was meant to have. If this policy makes it through, law-abiding folks who've done everything by the book to get their concealed carry license would finally be able to travel across state lines without worrying about running afoul of some obscure or conflicting law. Whether it's a family driving cross-country on vacation, someone starting over in a new job, or just an average American taking a weekend trip, this policy would make sure their right to self-defense goes with them. And here's a hard truth supporters are quick to point out. The criminals are already enjoying a kind of reciprocity. They're moving guns through loopholes and soft spots in the law, slipping past the rules that the rest of us are busting our backs to follow. The bad actors don't respect borders, and they sure as hell don't care about regulations. Just look at the so-called iron pipeline running up Interstate 95, where illegal firearms flow from relaxed states into locked-down places like New York and New Jersey. These folks break the law without blinking. They cross lines with no hesitation. So if the lawless can travel free, don't law-abiding Americans deserve that same freedom? This time, with the law firmly on their side and their right to protect themselves and their loved ones held high. Let's not lose sight of the facts. Concealed carry permit holders go through background checks, take training courses, and go through the licensing process. Statistically speaking, they're among the most law-abiding folks in this whole country. But even with momentum building, we all know the road ahead's going to have its fair share of resistance. Opponents are already digging in, tossing out the usual warnings about public safety and states' rights. One of their go-to lines is that more legal guns on the streets means more crime, but that just doesn't square with the facts. Research from the Crime Prevention Research Center tells a different story. Concealed carry holders don't just behave responsibly, they've got crime rates that, in many places, are lower than those of police officers. In states like Texas and Florida, folks with permits have been convicted of crimes at a rate several times lower than law enforcement. That ought to speak volumes. And real-world examples back it up. Think back to Portland, Oregon in 2012, or Sutherland Springs, Texas in 2017. In both cases, armed citizens stepped up and helped stop mass shootings. These weren't vigilantes, just regular Americans, trained and prepared, who were able to protect lives when it mattered most. Another argument critics like to throw out is that this kind of policy would steamroll state authority. But the Constitution's full faith and credit clause already says states have to honor things like driver's licenses and marriage certificates issued elsewhere. Extending that principle to concealed carry permits ain't overreach. It's common sense. It respects the balance between state governance and constitutional rights. And let's talk about the elephant in the room, the hypocrisy. Plenty of the loudest voices against gun rights have no problem being surrounded by armed private security. They tell the rest of us we shouldn't be carrying, while they keep folks with guns close by to protect themselves. That double standard sends a clear message that self-defense is somehow a privilege reserved for the rich and powerful, while the rest of us are expected to take our chances. National Concealed Carry Reciprocity stands firmly against that kind of elitism. This isn't just another political squabble. It's a clear stand that says your right to protect yourself shouldn't depend on what zip code you live in or how fat your wallet is. And right now, momentum's rolling. This is the moment for every American who believes in the Second Amendment to step up. Pick up the phone. Call your representatives. Join groups like the United States Concealed Carry Association. Show up at town halls. Sign the petitions. Make some noise, online and off. This fight ain't just on paper. It's playing out in real time. And the other side, they're pushing every day to tighten restrictions on what we can own, where we can carry, and how we defend our families. So stay informed, support candidates who back the Constitution, and don't be afraid to hold the folks we elect accountable. The Second Amendment ain't just some dusty line in an old book. It's a pillar of American freedom. With unity and grit, national reciprocity can be won, and when that day comes, we'll be sending a message loud and clear to Washington and to every anti-gun lobbyist out there. Our rights ain't up for debate.